Hey everyone, welcome to my initial video for my brand new review channel, 330 Movies. I love movies, discussing movies, debating movies, and I wanted to create an outlet for me to convey that. I'll be dropping reviews for new releases a few times a month, as well as reviews and retrospectives for some of my favorites. If you like what you hear, and you want to keep up with everything I drop on the channel, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, feel free to comment below and let me know what you think, good, bad, or ugly. With that being said, let's dive into The Marvels. Well, here it is. A movie marred by multiple release date postponements, a cavalcade of behind-the-scenes drama, and a feeling of utter disinterest from a dwindling fan base. It's no secret that the past two phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have been anything but impressive. Don't get me wrong, there have been some gems. No Way Home was a messy yet satisfying return to form for the classic everyman web-slinger. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was an almost perfect conclusion to arguably one of the best trilogies in the franchise. And Loki, don't even get me started on it. It might be the best thing Marvel has done since Endgame. I promise I'll hit on these each in their own separate videos down the line, but for now, let's discuss the latest entry in this ever-expanding universe. We kick off with a small group of Kree fanatics who descend into a barren planet in search of something that is quickly revealed to be a bangle, a twin to the one belonging to Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. Our villain, Dar-Benn, the leader of this party, uses the bangle and the Kree Warhammer to open a tear in space, creating a jump point. Nick Fury and Monica Rambeau board the Sabre space station, discover an anomaly created as a result of Dar-Benn's actions, and they contact Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, for help. As our heroes begin to engage new enemies, it is soon revealed that the jump point has interrupted the entire galaxy's jump point network, causing Carol, Monica, and Kamala to trade places with each other every time they use their powers simultaneously, creating some interesting fight scenes. From here, our trio skips around the galaxy investigating Dar-Benn's intentions with the bangle, now revealed to be a quantum band. Along with Kamala's, these bands were used by an unknown being long ago to create the entire jump point network. Dar-Benn plans to utilize both bands to create new jump points to siphon resources from other planets to restore the Kree homeworld of Hala, as Hala has been decimated as a result of Carol's actions in eliminating the Supreme Intelligence. The three leads team up to stop Dar-Benn, retrieve the quantum band, and stabilize the jump point network. So what did I think? I'd be lying if I said that I had been excruciatingly counting down the months until the Marvels dropped in cinemas. There's no denying that the MCU has been on a bit of a roller coaster post-Endgame, but I have to say I was genuinely surprised. The Marvels is by no means a masterpiece. I wouldn't even consider it complex or thought-provoking, but what it is a nice, enjoyable little break from the bigger MCU installments, akin to the first two Ant-Man films. The plot isn't anything to write home about, it's very simple and straightforward. Villain discovers artifact, uses said artifact, which has a ripple effect that in turn causes mayhem throughout the galaxy, and our heroes team up to stop them. The biggest pitfall of the film as a whole is that it struggles to make the viewer care. There isn't enough substance contained in this foundation of this plot for the film to stand on. The entire catalyst for this movie pertains to the events that occurred in a movie that we never saw. After the conclusion of the first Captain Marvel, Carol flew off back to Hala to put an end to the Supreme Intelligence in the Kree's tyrannical empire. This created an expectation that we would get to see these events play out over the course of a couple hours in Captain Marvel 2. And yet, jump ahead 4 years and save for a quick flashback scene in this movie, we never got to see Carol topple the suffocating Kree Empire and bring peace to the multitude of planets under its rule. We're asked to care about the repercussions of a conflict that we never got to see or experience ourselves. Which brings me to the film's antagonist, Dar-Benn, who is fine. She falls in line with a myriad of other one-dimensional MCU villains but she shouldn't have to. Zawe Ashton does a good job with the little material she's given. The issue is, we understand her motivations and her goals, but we struggle to empathize because the character hasn't been properly fleshed out, and us as the viewers are missing so much context. In the flashback, we see Carol destroy the Supreme Intelligence and lay waste to Hala, without any regard for the future of the planet and its inhabitants. Dar-Ben, a mere soldier in the Kree military at this time, witnesses this firsthand, leading to her hatred of Carol and her overall mission to restore Hala and take revenge on Carol. All of this is presented in a clip less than a minute in length. Had we been given the time to experience this tragedy and its further ramifications organically, it could have created a more compelling villain as well as developed a layer of complexity and nuance to Carol's character that we have yet to see. Speaking of Carol, well, it's the same old Carol. Just to give you some context, I liked Captain Marvel, but I definitely didn't love it. I think it ranks somewhere near the middle to the bottom of this franchise. I think one of the biggest issues with that movie was Carol's personality or lack thereof. For the most part, that issue continues here. I have nothing against Brie Larson. I think she's a good actress. Has she made some unsavory statements toward the fan base in the past? Sure. And I probably disagree with her personally on a lot of things, but when I go into a movie, I don't hold those things against an actor or actress's performance. You have to separate the art from the artist. That being said, I feel bad because there isn't much to rave about. I don't know if it's the characterization the writers developed for Carol, or if Larson just isn't equipped to play a lead in a big budget superhero franchise. Whatever it is, it creates a pretty lackluster experience for the viewer. Her character often comes off as unrelatable, standoffish, and just downright boring. The most interesting aspect of her character is the relationship with Monica. There are a few emotional moments between the two characters as they try to repair a strained relationship, and Monica feels abandoned as the only family she had left disappeared and never returned, breaking a promise. And on the other end, Carol feels immense guilt for Monica's resentment that she created. Both Larson and Teyonah Parris convey these emotions well in these moments. It's just a shame we didn't get more of that. Teyonah is good here, continuing on in her role of Captain Rainbow that we were all introduced to in WandaVision. She's steadfast and rational, yet emotional and vulnerable like most humans. I think her character only helps add a layer to Carol's character that we never really get. Although Monica's powers are sort of vaguely defined, her action scenes are fun and Parris executes them to a T. I think where the movie succeeds is in its action set pieces and Iman Vellani's dedicated portrayal as Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel. While I don't believe Vellani to be the greatest actress in the world, she's perfect in this role. The way she disappears into the character with such an innocence but admiration toward the greater universe is a blast. Something Vellani conveys in her personal life as well, as she herself is a massive fan of the MCU. She perfectly bounces off every character she interacts with and adds such a level of amusement to what could otherwise be a pretty dreary affair. The action set pieces, as I mentioned, are very well done compared to a lot of the more recent MCU products. While the entanglement of the trio's powers isn't completely elaborated on, it's a fact you can overlook considering the creativity it lends to the fight scenes. There are numerous action scenes throughout, but the highlight is a scene toward the beginning where all three heroes are unknowingly thrown into conflict against the Kree. It's well choreographed and a blast to watch as our heroes are constantly teleported from place to place, being tossed into the middle of ongoing skirmishes, forcing them to be quick on their feet. The rest of the cast is great. Sam Jackson is always reliable as Nick Fury, and Kamala's family is back to add some comedic moments. There are some portions of this movie that could be taken out that I didn't care for. The entire section of chasing cats around the space station I thought was a bit ridiculous and unnecessary. There were a few other small things that didn't quite work for me as well. I thought the costumes for our heroes were a bit disappointing. I loved Kamala's suit from her TV series, and they sort of downgraded her to a uniform that is oversaturated with color and design, leaving a lot to be desired. Monica's uniform was sharp and I think a great modernized update of her comic book counterpart. I've never been high on Carol's wardrobe in the MCU. I think her best look was the suit from the climax of Avengers Endgame. Her initial uniform in this one was well designed, I thought, but she ends up in a pretty bland dollar store Halloween costume equivalent by the end. I was mixed on the post-credits scene. Monica ends up in a parallel universe, rescued by an alternate superhero version of her mother and none other than Beast, with Kelsey Grammer returning to the role he excelled at in X-Men The Last Stand. While it's exciting to see the mutants slowly get filtered into this universe, I can't help but wonder if this is all just a last-minute stunt by Feige to try and convince fans to stick around. All in all, I enjoyed this film for what it was, a breezy, enjoyable break from the larger MCU at hand. While it's not incredible by any stretch of the imagination, if you go into it just looking to have fun and turn your brain off for a bit, I think you'll have a good time.